Plaintiff Marlena Washington says the defendant was her roommate, and Marlena looked at her like a little sister. Marlena claims after the defendant started dating an older man, she changed, and Marlena is suing her for rent and emotional distress. Defendant India Prasad Nickerson says problems between her and Marlena started once Marlena's brother moved in. India claims Marlena's brother had poor hygiene, and he smoked pot in their apartment, and India's countersuing for a security deposit.
Start with you.
So India and I met through a former roommate of ours. She was young, and I connected with her scenario because I know what it's like to not have a stable place to be. So that's how our relationship started, as being roommates. I regard her as like a little sister, and there were times where I treated her as such, and things got a little crazy when she started to have when she had an older boyfriend, so to speak, and we started to have a lot of tension between us. I don't know.
Just speak for yourself then.
Right.
What was your tension about?
Right. They're just like, she just wasn't right. She thought she was right about everything. There's just like, started to be a little bit more argumentative and things like that.
What does that have to do with the boyfriend, you think?
That's just, I don't know. That's what happened.
It was coincidence, or it happened at the same time?
Around the same time.
Okay.
Around the same time. And so fast forward a little bit, my brother moved in at one point, and things were kind of like a family feel for quite a while. There started to be more tension again, and right around April.
Why do you think that occurred?
I don't know.
All this tension going on in your household, you never said, hey, friend, we're dear friends. We've been living together. I'm helping you because you're a young lady, because I was in your position before. What's going on with us? We having all these arguments we haven't had before? Because this is the second time, after all.
But I did want to have a house meeting.
All right, I just think, and did you?
We never had a house meeting.
Okay.
I did call for it several times.
Okay.
And after April, my brother was in the apartment. I wasn't there. My brother was in the apartment with friends. He'd let us know that he was going to have friends over. They ended up smoking in the apartment, which was a no-go. Like, that was a rule, no smoking in the apartment. And their reaction, it was like a big, long text message thread. And at the time, I was not able to be anywhere near. I was actually finishing up training.
Okay, that's your brother smoking with his friends. With her was based on arguments, the dysfunction?
The biggest problem that we had was regarding rent not being paid
there
on time.
You go. All right. And when did that begin, the failure to pay rent?
The first time it happened, which is part of the suit, was in August 2015.
How long had you all lived together at that time?
I don't know the exact month, but I would say between 3 to 6 months. I'm not really exactly sure at that time.
Within 3 to 6 months, she missed rent. 1 month?
There were several months.
Okay. And between that time frame?
Between August of then until about the mid to end of 2017.
Okay. What would you say to her?
So what's happening? When are you going to pay the rent?
What would she say?
She would let me know when she was going to pay the rent.
Did she?
Sometimes she did it at that point. Sometimes it was well after.
All right. Now was the tension, the reason for the tension?
That was the majority of it, yeah.
Okay. So didn't have anything to do with her boyfriend or your brother, the majority of it.
Well, the way the approach was happening around it was adding on to it.
Yeah. Let me hear from you.
Some of what Marlena has said is correct, and some of it is incorrect. For the record, my boyfriend is over quite often, but I never felt any tension towards her because of him. A lot of the tension on my behalf did come from when her brother moved in. He had terrible hygiene. You could smell when he was home. He would leave used condoms in the kitchen trash can. It was just a really gross place to live.
You mentioned that to her?
I did.
And what would she say?
She spoke to him about the condoms, but in terms of hygiene, I don't know that that ever came up because that was an issue for as long as he lived there.
Do you ever tell her that he stank?
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it once or twice. I mentioned her once or twice.
And what'd she say?
She kind of just brushed it off like she did with everything that I ever mentioned.
Okay. Did you go to him?
No, I did not speak with him directly.
You were fearful, perhaps?
No, not really. He was just, it's kind of the same thing.
Couldn't get close enough.
Yeah,
good point.
that. And he kind of just brushes
talk
everything
from a
off.
distance. Hey!
Yeah.
Right.
So.
You need to wash.
But as Marlena mentioned, The biggest issue for me, and was kind of the last straw, was April 20th. I was home, I was off from work, and I was about to take a shower. I smelled weed in the apartment and heard coughing coming from his bedroom. I knocked on the door and did approach him directly and asked him if he was smoking. He said yes. I asked him to stop, and he continued to smoke. I sent him a text message directly, which he chose to ignore. I then sent a group message that included Marlena to make her aware of the situation. And she told me that right now isn't the time to talk about it. You're scolding him, and just brushed it off. So at that point,
You have something?
I have text messages of this conversation.
About her with that response?
Yes.
Ma'am, did you do that?
That's part of the message. That wasn't the entire
Because
message.
you gave me the impression that you were just as upset about it.
I was
and
upset
that you
about it.
Okay,
There
well,
was nothing
now
really
you're not that upset if you tell somebody to leave him alone. Okay, so I'm not home, but this thread is occurring to me like a parent scolding a child. But she said you were scolding her.
Yes. After I
Not
came back
scolding
at
her brother.
No. If you
She
read
was
through,
accusing you of scolding her.
she accused me of scolding both of them. If you read through
I don't.
the
Okay,
whole message.
you read the part where it refers to him.
The first time she mentioned it, she's referring to her brother Kenneth. So I'm not home, but this thread is occurring to me like a parent scolding a child. She's referring to him.
Like you were scolding.
I was scolding him. Yes.
That's not how. That's what you're referring to.
Yes.
That she was scolding him.
It was a very long.
But were
essay
you
long.
referring to her scolding him?
Correct.
So
I
you
was.
were defending him then. Not he is mistreating her by violating the rules and smoking weed in the house while she's there. No, you're mistreating my brother. You're scolding him like you are his mama. Go ahead. What else?
He also said that it's 420, it's pothead holiday, so he should be able to smoke in the house.
Let's get to the rent, please.
Okay, great. So the rent that's owed to me is $1,024 for the rent that I paid on her behalf in August of 2015.
Okay.
And then
how much
for
was
the-
her share each month?
$512.
Why did she owe twice the amount in August?
So she was given cash from my other roommate to then pay the rent, and that was not paid.
Okay, she stole the money.
I guess if that's how you interpret
Did
it.
she take it and not return it?
That's correct.
That's stealing.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, ma'am. Tell me about this rent she says you owe and the other part you stole.
I did have 2 times the rent for myself and another person, and she asked that I transfer it to her account because it wasn't paid.
To her account?
Yes. So I attempted to pay it online. It didn't go through. We weren't aware.
Why didn't it
after
go
the
through?
fact. I don't know. We had several.
You didn't look
issues with
into it?
No, I actually got confirmation. that
Oh,
it went
so, pardon me?
I got confirmation that it went through. I had a confirmation.
And so you didn't follow up when it didn't?
Contacted my bank, got information from them, but that took some months to get. So in that time, we made an agreement that since I wasn't able to pay her twice.
No, let's go
which-
back to what ultimately happened with the bank, because this sounds like a con job.
They told me they didn't know what happened.
Oh, the bank told you that?
Yes, according
All
to
right,
Marlena.
okay, ma'am. And they didn't look any further. We don't know what happened, and we ain't looking no further.
No, later, months after the fact, the money was returned to me via check. I got it
From the bank?
Yes, a check in the mail.
All right, well, so they
So-
did determine that it was wrong, and that's why they gave you your money back.
Right.
You sound like you're being evasive. Double talk, evasive equals lie. To me. What else, ma'am?
So at the point that we determined the funds hadn't gotten into her account, I paid PG&E and utilities.
We're not talking about utilities. We're talking about rent.
That's what this
I don't know
is.
anything about in lieu of. We've been debating whether you paid. I think that you've been deceptive all through this case, and so it would be hard for me to believe anything. You not quite deceptive. You're just kind of tough for
Confused.
you to explain. Yeah, you are confused. Have a good day. Judging for the plaintiff, your claim is dismissed.
I just want to say to India, I hope that, life does her well. Like, I want to make sure that, I don't want this to happen with anybody else with her. Like, that everything actually just works out for wherever else she is now.
All the issues that I had with the plaintiff and her brother weren't issues that I've ever experienced with anybody else. I have moved into a new residence and don't have any of the same issues, so it's safe to say I wasn't the problem.